very good.
Raise up your sword to your wrist. And bounce. Catch. 1, 2, 3. Release.
We look at the 13th and 14th century, really, the time that the castle was built, and we try to reenact that period of time. We want to involve people in a sort of living history type thing.
Head! Shoulder! Leg! Head! Almost there, almost there. If you think you can't make the block, move out of the way. Half a step and then move back in. Okay? Leg, back again. Hand on the head. He's been slowly.
We've been helped out quite a lot this year by a Harlock reenactment group. We're quite a new group, so we rely on others, and we find that they're all quite willing to come and assist us. On the feast weekend, apart from the cookery side of things, we've got things for children, children's games. We've got fighting nights. There'll be opportunities to dress a night, to fight a night, and we've also got some archery, which will take place in the castle.
Well, rich people would have eaten a lot of meat. They could afford spices and exotic vegetables and fruits. But the poor people would fill themselves on bread, stews, soups and pies. They used to eat a lot of pastry because it was a quick and easy meal to make. I will have some torte of gourds, which is a vegetable and cheese pie. It's a little bit sweet, which all their pies were. Even if it was a savoury pie, it would be sweet. I have also got some sweet balls called kebabs, which men would have taken to war with them, or when they were travelling, because they kept quite well and they were quite a substantial treat to eat. I've made some trout pasties, and I'm also going to try, if the weather holds out, to make some little almond fritters.
Well, we're a reenactment society, born from all of us with different medieval societies throughout the years, and basically what makes the House Black Star slightly different to others is that we actually lecture on the blades rather than displaying it. We allow people to come forward, we allow them to join in. We concentrate solely on the 13th century to 1350, and the whole idea, we're full contact, but all of us are masters of our craft. We've all trained for 20 odd years, and we just like to basically come together and show people how history throughout the years has been developed.
We're the Nameless Dogs. We're a Viking reenactment group. We hope to portray life as it was for the Vikings in the 8th to 9th centuries. Our primary weapon is the broadsword, which is your standard iconic sword, something that everybody's familiar with, and how it can be used for attacking, defending, parrying.
Well, this is a basic day-to-day meal of a Viking or Norman soldier. We'll start off with the barley bread, which is simply made with barley and flour and water, and then it's very, very simple, and it'll last about two weeks. It's real long lasting. Would have been eaten with goat's butter and soft cheeses. This one's very similar to a cottage cheese, which we have nowadays. The milk that they had, they took all of the animal fats out of it to produce butters and cheeses and everything else because it was quite valuable. You'd have the dried, all the dried meats that we have. We've got a dried ham, a dried beef, which is similar to the jerky that you get nowadays. The sausages were quite similar to the Mediterranean-style sausages you have, very heavily spiced and dried. Again, so it'd last a long time. When you've got Vikings travelling long distances on trade voyages and everything, no fridges or anything like that to preserve the food, so heavily spiced. Same with the fish. We've got smoked fish and we've got salted fish. The salted fish would last a lot longer. You'd have to soak it in water before using it, but then you could make it into like a broth or a stew, which vegetables and everything, again, for making the stews. The meat that they tend to eat would be more lamb than beef. Beef being quite, cows are quite useful for the milk produce, so lamb would have been a better choice. Recommended calorie intake nowadays is around 2,000, but for somebody in this period you're looking at about 15,000 calories, which is a lot of food. So meat and veg portions, you're looking at 100-gram portions, so big meals. They'd bulk that out with nuts and fruits at the same time. This is more or less one-day meal, from breakfast, which would be the bread soaked in buttermilk or goat's butter. For your lunchtime meal, you'd have the dried meats with, again, they had another bread. They didn't have any yeast, so the bread was fairly flat and unrisen. They could use buttermilk to make like a sourdough, which would give a raised bread. And then their evening meal would have been a lamb stew or similar. They wouldn't have drunk very heavily, wouldn't have drunk alcohol very heavily, because it obviously starts to interfere with your working day.
We've had lots of interest from an awful lot of the really good jousting teams, and there are some excellent ones out there with the heavy horses and the armour. It will look spectacular. The council are very interested in it. They see that it's an opportunity for Conwy to really stamp its medieval history on the map, if you like.